Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you like this episode, please remember to hit the like button and leave a comment or two, then subscribe and click on the bell to receive notifications of whenever we release new videos. Also, please remember to share them to your social media. The runner jogged through the early morning cool as the eastern sky illuminated in an orange glow. The forest trail was still damp from the rain the prior night, and waves of fog drifted across the hillside. The earthy scent of the forest enveloped the runner as he covered mile after mile, training for his next ultramarathon. The early morning light was just bright enough to reveal two dark shadows along the trail ahead of him. It was common for him to see wild boars in the forest as he ran, but these two dark shapes drew his attention for some reason. Approaching within a few yards, the runner slowed, hoping the shapes would leave the trail with his presence. The shapes lifted their heads in unison to look in the runner's direction, revealing to him that they were bears and not wild boars. Lifting his hands in a sign of surrender, the runner was terrified to see one of the bears stepping toward him. The bear closed in on the runner with blinding speed as he lifted his right arm toward his head to protect himself. Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. Myoko lies in Japan's Niigata Prefecture, a region of deep forests, steep ridges, and volcanic foothills at the northern edge of the Chubu Mountains. The area experiences long snowy winters and short rainy summers that draw hikers and trail runners from around the world. The climate here nurtures a dense canopy of beech, oak, and Japanese cedar. Beneath those trees grow hardy mountain shrubs, bamboo grass, azalea, and alpine rhododendron that give the slopes a dense, layered look. Wildlife finds easy forage among the fruit-bearing plants, such as Japanese raspberry and wild black currant, before winter sets in. The region's large plant-eating animals include sika deer and wild boar, both of which thrive in the forest's abundance. Their presence attracts predators, but in this part of Japan, the dominant carnivore is not the long-extinct wolf, but the Asiatic black bear. Though smaller than its brown bear cousins on Hokkaido, it is powerful and just as unpredictable. These bears primarily live solitary lives, feeding on acorns, chestnuts, and insects. But when hunger or surprise enters the equation, they can turn deadly to human beings. Over the past 2 years, Japan has faced a troubling rise in bear encounters, many of which have been featured as episodes on this channel. The Ministry of the Environment reports that since early 2024, bear-related injuries have more than doubled, and by the autumn of 2025, at least 7 people have been killed. The reason lies partly in ecology. Japan's oak and beech trees have suffered 2 consecutive mast failures, meaning they produced fewer acorns and nuts than usual. That shortage has driven bears closer to farmland and residential areas in search of food. At the same time, rural depopulation and cultural change have also created quiet, unmanaged woodlands at the edges of towns, perfect corridors for wildlife to slip unseen into human spaces. From the mountains of Akita to the suburbs of Gunma, reports of bears breaking into homes, schools, and even supermarkets have become almost routine. In 2025, several fatal maulings occurred within a single month, making it Japan's deadliest year for bear attacks since official records began in 2006. Myoko, tucked between the prefectures of Nagano and Niigata, have remained relatively peaceful until Billy Halloran's morning run changed that. Billy is a 32-year-old ultramarathon runner from New Zealand, living and working in Japan. Friends describe him as determined, disciplined, and endlessly positive. A man who ran not only for fitness, but for peace of mind. Training for an upcoming race, he often spent hours on the mountain trails around Myoko, charting routes through cedar groves and alpine meadows. He carried a phone, a small water pack, and an ironclad belief that these woods were safe. On the morning of October 18, 2025, Halloran set out shortly after dawn. The air was cold enough to bite and clear enough to see the first hints of snow on the higher peaks. He ran alone, headphones on, utilizing the rhythm of the music to help him pace his breathing. His pace carried him deep into the forest, several miles from the nearest road. As Billy rounded a bend in the trail, two dark shapes moved ahead of him, only a few yards away. At first, he assumed they were wild boars, common in the region. Then one of them stood upright. Billy stopped in the trail, frozen by the realization that the shapes were bears. The creature was an adult Asiatic black bear, thick-shouldered and nearly as tall as he was. Behind it, a second bear shifted in the brush. Following his training and instincts, he slowly backed away, speaking firmly to announce his presence. Hearing the man's voice, the first bear lowered its head and lunged. Halloran raised his right arm to protect his face. The bear clamped its jaws onto Billy's right forearm and tossed him back and forth. Its jaws closed with crushing force, snapping the bones of his arm like twigs. The bear released his arm, which had painfully bent in the middle of his forearm. Not finished with Billy, the bear lunged again, biting into his leg and hip. Flesh tore away in chunks as pain turned to shock. Then, as suddenly as it had come, the bear backed off, perhaps startled by Billy's frightened yells or stubborn toughness. He stumbled away, clutching his arm. Pulling his cell phone from his pocket, he was thankful that it was still functional. He called his wife and told her to get in the car immediately. He explained that he'd been attacked by a bear, and his arm had been badly broken. After that, the resilient athlete started running again, a little under 1 mile down the trail, bleeding heavily, toward the nearest road where his wife could reach him. She rushed him down the mountain to the nearest hospital. At the hospital in Joetsu, surgeons found that Halloran's right arm had been broken in 3 places, and that part of his hip bone had been crushed and torn away. They implanted metal plates to rebuild the limb and grafted bone from his hip. While under care at the hospital, Billy remarked on the small bear's power. Although the bear was shorter than him, it was broader and more muscular at the shoulders. The man and the bear likely weighed about the same, but the disparate power difference was evident in the serious wounds on the man's body. Marveling at the short amount of time it took the bear to crush several bones in his body and rip his flesh severely, he expressed gratitude that it was not a brown bear. He remained hospitalized for days, recovering from both trauma and surgery. Doctors expect a long recovery, although Halloran says he plans to run again once he's healed. His story resonated across Japan, becoming part of the national conversation about the country's rising bear attacks. As for the bear that attacked him, it was never located. Wildlife officers believe it was likely a single female adult foraging with her nearly grown cub before hibernation, drawn down from higher elevations in search of food. It isn't clear if the attack was an opportunistic attack driven by hunger or if the bear was acting in defense of herself and her cub. Speaking of cubs, our Cub Tier membership on Patreon, linked below, will give you ad-free early access to episodes, photos, and notes. And the $3 per month goes a long way in helping me continue to produce educational and entertaining content like this. Japan's bear population is divided between the Asiatic black bears of Honshu and Shikoku and the massive and powerful brown bears of Hokkaido. Biologists estimate that there are between 25,000 and 35,000 black bears across roughly 120,000 square kilometers of habitat, yielding a population density of about 1 bear for every 5 square kilometers, or 3 square miles. In 2025 alone, more than 100 people were injured, and at least 7 were killed in bear attacks nationwide, a record since data collection began. Experts note that the number of nuisance reports, sightings near homes, gardens, and roads has tripled since 2020, underscoring a growing conflict between humans and wildlife. After reviewing the facts surrounding this episode, I'm left with a few questions for you. How do you think Japan will adapt to a future where bears roam closer to cities than ever? Can coexistence truly work when environmental factors and hunger push these animals beyond their natural boundaries? And after surviving such a brutal encounter, would you ever feel safe to return to the forested trails? I'm pretty sure I would stick to running in city parks for my training. I will gladly read and reply to your thoughts, so post them in the comments section below, and let's talk about it. Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider clicking on the like button and clicking on the bell icon. We'll help you know when we post our new episodes. Posting our video links to your social media profiles furthers awareness, and it's fun. We slashed our prices in our merch store, linked below, so check out the bargains there while you shop. As a member of our human community, remember to adventure bravely and be careful out there, especially in bear country.